The Trump supporter is garbage.
A couple of things. So just to clarify, he was not calling Trump supporters garbage.
The only garbage I see floating out there is his supporters.
Which is why he put out, this is why he wanted to make sure that we put out a statement that clarified what he meant and what he was trying to say.
The only garbage I see floating out there is his supporters.
And so just want to make that very clear for folks who are watching. And I just want to read that out to folks. So he was regarding to the comedian, and I quote, "I referred to the hateful rhetoric about Puerto Rico spewed by Trump's supporter at his Madison Square Garden rally as garbage, which is the only word I can think of to describe it. His demonization of Latinos is unconscionable. That's all I meant to say. The comments at the rally don't reflect who we are as a nation." And to your question, your other question that you asked, no, he does not view Trump supporters or anybody who supports Trump as garbage. That is not what he views.
The only garbage I see floating out there is his supporters.
Debbie Dingell says he's going to start internment camps. He never said that. That is not helpful. On that, you're 100% right. Because once she says something that he didn't say, then not only the right wing, but independents will discount every other thing you've said. Not just every other thing you've said, but every other thing that anyone on the left has said. He never said internment camps. Don't say that.
And the notion of a fascist. Because look, if we're just going to use fascist toward anyone we dislike, all right, then the word doesn't actually mean anything.
Okay, what do you want me to say, Anna? You want me to say wannabe dictator?
Sure, you can say wannabe dictator, but I don't even think he wants to be a dictator.
Of course he does. That's what you do when you lose an election and you go, oh, I got fake electors, and I'd like to terminate the Constitution and bring out the tanks and use martial law against American citizens and shoot protesters. I mean, if that's not fascist, then I guess the word just shouldn't exist.
But was he able to do those things?
First of all, his entire cabinet has not cabinet, administration, his wife.
Welcome to the new party. I'm Nora Christine.
I'm Gray Mars.
I'm 85 Slim.
And we have some very special guests tonight. First in the house is Jay Jackson. Jay, let everybody know about your platform and where they can find you.
Oh, okay. Hello, everyone. I'm Jay Jackson, founder and CEO of Serve, Impact, and Prosper. You can find me on TikTok, Instagram, and Facebook and LinkedIn as Jay Jackson. Would love to connect with anyone out there.
And I'm going to play a clip from Jay Jackson. He was recently on Fox News.
I think your TikTok video. What of this today?
Well, I mean, I agree with what Anton just said. If Obama really wanted us to support Kamala, however you pronounce her name, that should have been his pitch or his presentation to the young black men that he was speaking to. Give us something of substance. Like, I have a higher standard. And so each of her 5 points, okay, those are decent gestures, I guess, but there are some additional things that I believe that need to be done if you want to get us to, vote for you or even pay attention. I mean, the things that we value in terms of our border, in terms of capitalism over socialist communism, those types of things, we value the protection of our country. And I swore to protect, to fight and defend our country against all enemies, foreign and domestic. And what I see from the Democratic side is just that. They are enemies within our country, and we have to do everything we can to keep them out and fight them.
Now, Jay, I talked to a friend of mine today.
Jay, thank you for coming. And our next guest is Kaizen. Hi, Kaizen. Welcome back.
Good to be back. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for coming. And let everybody know about your platform and where they can find you.
Yeah, so you can find me on Instagram and TikTok and X at That's Kaizen. I'm a life coach, and I also run a community called Courage Collective, where I help people speak more courageously about sensitive issues like politics, because we need everyone contributing their voice, not just the most extreme and angry people.
Yes, and this is a video that Kaizen recently posted, and he breaks it down wonderfully why people supported Trump from 2016 to now. I'm going to play a clip of it.
Plot. And I'm going to address all of that
and I'm going to talk about what I think the merits of Trump's argument were, as well as the demerits of his arguments and his actions. Before I get into that, I think it's important to paint a picture of the MAGA worldview from 2016 to 2024. And first, I'll acknowledge that I voted against Trump in 2016. I voted against him in 2020. And I'm voting for him now in 2024. But I'm looking back retroactively to try to understand what was the perspective of someone who voted for him in 2016 and 2020. Prior to 2016, I think everyone would have agreed that Washington is very corrupt, that they spend taxpayer money incredibly inefficiently, that we have this never-ending carousel of politicians who lie, who make promises and don't follow through on them, and that government feels really ineffective relative to what it can be. And then Trump came as the embodiment of that message with his clarion call to drain the swamp. Prior to 2016, I think everyone would have agreed we need to drain the swamp, but Trump, in his demeanor, in his character, in his very braggadocious.
So that's just a taste. And the last guest that we have is a friend of the show, Andre Lowry, the hardest working man on TikTok. Andre, let everybody know about your platform and where they can find you.
I'm pretty much a newcomer, but I'm at Andre Lowry on TikTok. I am the hardest working man on TikTok. I'm on there mostly all the time, letting people give their voices. I believe America have a voice, and that's what I do.
And you guys can check out his platform. He's constantly doing lives and letting people come up and speak and talk about what matters to voters. So that's why we have him here tonight, because it's important to know what the real people are thinking and saying. So tonight, our discussion is going to be breaking down the Joe Rogan Donald Trump podcast. Does anyone want to take a guess how many views Joe Rogan has now?
Man, I'm going to say about 50 million.
About 33 million. How many views do you think Shannon Sharp got with Kamala Harris? Let me make sure I say her name right, Jesus. Can we take a guess?
I'll give her $1 million.
Jay, like 1.5.
Yeah,
it's
somebody
the
else
struggle
said it too.
vote over there. So we can all start by going around the room and say what our predictions are and for the election on Tuesday, and then we'll start playing the clips. Gray, the Democrat on the call, I think you're the only Democrat. What is your thoughts for the election come Tuesday?
I believe Kamala Harris is going to win. I believe we're going to see Texas turn blue. And I believe that the Democrats are going to win in the House and the Senate.
Jay, what's your thoughts?
Well, of course, I've already cast my ballot, and I'm voting for Donald Trump. I believe that the MAGA movement, obviously, the movement means something different to everyone, depending on who you are. But I think the movement will turn out too much for them to be able to cheat. And then that's when we'll get into probably some legal battles on the back end on who believes who won what, and the lawyers will probably figure it out.
Kaizen, what's your predictions?
Well, I want Trump to win. I think he will win. If you look at actually the betting markets, it's strongly Trump favored. And I actually think the betting markets where people put their money where their mouth is actually a pretty good indicator. So I think he will win. I agree with Jay that there's going to be a legal battle. And I'd be surprised if we even know who our president-elect is for weeks. And I suspect it's going to get ugly and they're going to pull out the stops and it's going to be confusing. But I think that Trump will win the Electoral College.
Andre, the man of the people. What's the people telling you? I already know what you're going to say, but go ahead.
I think the dark horse, Kamala Harris. I think Kamala Harris is going to win this race. And I don't think it's going to be no lawyers or anything. I think she's going to outright win this race.
85, what's your thoughts?
Man, Donald all day long. He will win it, but I do think the Democrats gonna be desperate and do something to make something crazy or blow something up. I don't know what's gonna happen, but something's gonna happen. But I think he gonna win.
And Everyone, this is D White. He's a member of our cast. D, what's your thoughts?
Of course, I think Donald Trump's going to win. Republicans have come out for the first time doing early voting, and really in numbers. This is the first time I ever voted early in my whole life. So I think that they're off to a great start. I just hope we can continue it. And like you said, the poly market is for the first time ever has Trump up 60% betting odds. So I think that's great odds, man.
Well, I don't think it's going to be weeks. I think we're going to know by midnight, and I can't wait to have my bottle of champagne pop in. And for everyone watching, we will be doing a watch party, and you will see Gray cry at the end. So the first clip I'm going to play is about election integrity. Let's see what Joe Rogan and Trump had to say. Okay, so Jay, what's your thoughts about why they don't want the ID? I don't see the big deal. They try to say it's because of Black voters, which I think is racist and offensive. So what's your thoughts on that? Jay, you're muted.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, sorry.
Yeah, I apologize for that. It's to cheat. I mean, why else would anything not require any identification? Because you have people within our country who don't have IDs, and then there are also people who will vote multiple times if an identification process isn't in place. So anyone who is for suppressing or keeping identification out of the process clearly wants people to be able to vote who are not a part of our identification system.
Gray, the Democrat on the call, why do you think that you guys don't want IDs? Why are the Democrats so against IDs?
Impoverished people have a harder time with getting identification. People who may be afraid of just going to the DMV or, for fear of whatever the government may do. So what they're doing is trying to protect a certain group of people who may not have transportation, or like mail-in voting is for people out of the country, or mostly for elderly people who can't leave and send in their ballot.
D, I can see you're laughing. What's your thoughts on the IDs?
I love Gray to death, man. He's a real good guy. But I know for a fact he doesn't believe that. We require ID to do everything else in all of America. You can't go to the liquor store without ID. You can't go watch certain movies at the movie theater. No one's getting hurt at the movie theater. There's no violence happening, but you can't watch certain movies without an ID. But you're telling me for the most sacred right as an American to be able to pick the leader of the free world, asking for an ID is where you draw the line at, sir. Sir, do you really want us to believe that? The only even if I was a lawyer and I would have to defend the right to let people not have IDs, I couldn't come up with a reason. I mean, there's no steel man argument for it. Besides, you guys want to cheat. It's the only reason.
Andre, to keep a balance, why do you think they don't have the ID? Do you support IDs or are you against it? I say because I know you're independent. Sometimes you surprise me.
I support the ID. I definitely support the ID, but I do know that I had somebody steal my information one time and had an ID with my face on it. You know what I'm saying? So if you still want forgery, it still could happen, but I do support ID.
Kaizen, what's your thoughts?
So I don't like to get into what people's intentions are because I don't know what's going on in anyone's mind, but let's take it as a given that Gray's argument is true, that the argument to not have ID is that it would be discriminatory versus certain socioeconomic brackets or something. It's like, okay, well, then there's easy solutions to this. Like we could just pay for people to get free IDs if that's really the issue here. And I look at this as like, even if that were the issue, well, what problem are we trying to solve? Since 2020, there's been the lowest level of trust in American society ever. People don't trust the voting system. They don't trust the election results. People are fighting in every state and getting legal teams assembled to dispute the election results before they're even presented. So not only do we need to restore trust for everyone by having a voter ID requirement at minimum, it would be easy. Like this is not some massive logistical effort to give the few, 100,000, even if the few million people who need IDs. So to me, it's like, even if that is the argument, it's just not a very good argument, because this is much more important than a few people having some inconvenience in getting an ID. So if some people struggle to get an ID, let's pay for them to get an ID, because that's the price of people having trust in American voting systems again.
Gray, would you like to rebut before we move on? I feel like you have something. Well, and
It's
85
Slim's
hasn't
turn.
spoken.
Slim's turn.
Yeah, Slim's
Hey,
turn.
I'm all for IDs,
Yeah.
because at the end of the day, there's nothing to really elaborate on. I just kind of wanted to hear that take. But I think, Ray, the chat gonna tear you up, brother. You gotta be careful. The chat about to tear you up, man.
I'm ready for it. I get it way worse on Dana and Judge Joe Brown show.
Oh man, God
Yeah,
bless
shouts
you, brother.
out to the Man Up podcast with Dana and Judge Joe Brown. They love Gray over there. So this next clip talks about income taxes, everyone's favorite topic. Let's hear what Trump says he'll do for our income taxes.
Getting rid of
Heisen, do you think this is actually doable, not having income tax and replacing it with tariffs?
Well, we certainly used to do it, so I think it's true that it's doable, but honestly, I don't know enough about economics to weigh in on whether it's a good idea. But I think the deeper point is this. When I hear Trump talk about economic policy, it sounds like he actually has a strategy and has some principles around what he'll do that are not just campaign talking points. And he's a big fan of tariffs. And I like that he has a more muscular economic policy, because tariffs are a tool. And the context in which he was talking about tariffs anyway was basically using it to incentivize manufacturing to come back to America, which I think is awesome. And I think a large reason why people want to vote for Donald Trump is because he actually puts America first when it comes to trade deals, when it comes to imposing taxes on foreign goods rather than prioritizing domestic goods. So I don't know if he's going to remove the income tax. Frankly, I doubt that he's actually going to do it. But I'm glad that he's willing to wield tariffs to protect American industry, because it doesn't feel like we've had a consistent champion of American industry for a long time. And we need someone who does that, because right now, a lot of our automotive industry is being eaten up by China. A lot of everything, it seems like, is made in China or made overseas. And that's a huge issue for economic independence for America.
85, I know you're a business owner. Do you think that this is possible for us to do that with the tariffs?
Yes, I believe it's possible because, number one, see, Trump is a businessman, and that's what we keep. We put it in the back of our mind like he hasn't done this before. The guy literally ran the country before. These are the same allegations that we're hearing today that we heard back in 2016. He's going to create wars. He's going to divide this. The reality is the economy was great when he was the president. Reason being because he knew what to do when he was in there. Now, I'm not going to get us in trouble, but if things wouldn't have happened the first time, we probably wouldn't be talking about this today, because he deserved a second term. So at the end of the day, whatever he's going to do it for the people. He's going to do it for the economy, and he's going to do it for the greater good for everyone. It's not just one genre of people. Trump is for the American people, and the economy is a big role in our lives, man. And at the end of the day, we can see inflation. Nobody's blind to the inflation, no matter if you don't like Donald Trump or not. I remember when gas was $2.75 a gallon in Florida, period. And he was in office. So that's all I'm saying. He can do things like that, man. And I just believe in him, man. I believe in the brother and what he's going through to continue to get up and fight for us. I'm still vote for that man to the day I drop, man.
Jay, what's your thoughts on the tariffs? Is it possible?
Yeah, I mean, I believe that if they want to get a deal done, they'll get a deal done, and that goes for everything in business, in government, and even in politics. I think a lot of times we lose sight that President Trump isn't always talking to the American people either. He's also talking to other world leaders who are paying attention to what's happening throughout the campaign trail. And so when he, talks about tariffs and things of that nature, I think we have to sometimes say, okay, who's he really talking to? What impact will this really have? I mean, I can see some pros and cons of it. I'm not a, economics major or anything like that, but when Kaizen made a good point about Trump wanting, jobs to return to America, I truly believe, as a veteran, I truly believe, based on his language and his behavior, he loves this country. But then there, on the flip side, if we bring some of those jobs back over, some of the products that we do get for cheap from a China or Taiwan or any of these other places, the price is going to go up, and so the consumer is going to have to pay for that. And so it's tricky, but I think it can get done. There's some smart enough people who have gotten some big deals done. They can get a deal done if they want to.
Jay, what branch did you serve in?
The Air Force.
Thank you for your service.
My pleasure. Still serving.
Gray is
Still
a
serving.
veteran.
What branch, Gray?
Army.
Okay.
Gray, we got to mix it up. So do you think
Sure.
Trump can get it done?
Well, yeah, I do have a background in finance, so just to be brief, I know it's a lot of us, so we're trying to talk. There's something called the chicken wars. So in the chicken wars, the British were buying American chickens, and they were basically not selling their chickens due to that. So they added a tax to be paid to the government for chickens being imported into Europe. And with that, America attacked back and taxed European vehicles. And of course, they put those prices onto the consumer. And when Trump was in office and he basically did tariffs, he did create more jobs, which is what they're trying to do, is create more jobs. But what happened was the prices of things increased. So Samsung, for example, who creates washing machines, the washing machine price went up and the price went on to the consumer. And even though they didn't do it for the dryers also went up too, because you have to pay a washer and a dryer. Yes, it creates jobs, but it's a much more efficient ways to create jobs and where things aren't so expensive. And that put, I believe, $600 extra annually on American consumers.
Good answer. Good point. D. White, do you think Trump can get it done, and why?
I definitely think that Trump is capable of implementing a plan that works with tariffs. Yes, we understand why tariffs exist. Everyone imposes tariffs on the United States of America for all our goods and services to be sent to them. Unfortunately for them, we are the largest consumer market in the world. We buy the most useless stuff that we don't need. So if you want to have a part in the American market, then you're going to have to pay your fair share, which is with the tariffs. And I do believe that he's going to be able to execute this, because for a lot of companies worldwide, not just in China, not just in Russia, you go out of business if you lose access to the American market. So when Trump tells you, hey, we're going to charge you the exact same amount of tariffs that you charge us unless you bring yours down, companies are going to be forced to come to the table and negotiate. And I believe that Trump says these things, like one of the other brothers said on the line. He's not just talking to the American people, he's talking to world leaders everywhere, just putting them on notice. Hey, when I get in office, things are going to change, so you might as well go ahead now and make your plans. And that's what I believe.
Andre, the man of the people, can he get it done?
I think it's a talking point. We drinking Trump Kool-Aid all over again. How do that trickle down to American people? I'm just wondering, how do it trickle down to hardworking people who go to work? Yeah, it might help the corporations and the companies, but how is it going to trickle down and help the American people? I'm talking about the people who make 60,000 on down.
It brings
still
jobs
got
back
sugar.
to it.
You still putting more Kool-Aid in there.
Listen, I'll help you. I'll help you understand, since you don't. What it does is okay, I got you. Let me just help you a little bit. I'm gonna bring it home for you. If other countries don't have to pay tariffs to bring their stuff in, they can drop prices lower and outcompete American companies, because they pay lower in wages. They don't have the same regulations, they don't have the same rules over there, so they can make X, Y, and Z cheaper than Americans can. That way, it makes no sense for me, a businessman who wants to build a company to build X, Y, Z here in America. I can't compete with those guys. So if we introduce a tariff on them, now they have their cost goes up. So now I can actually compete, and we can save, and we can build stuff here in America, which is built in America, sold in America, all that great stuff. That's how it helps everyday Americans.
But what I would say, you keep saying that'll help, but we still drinking the Kool-Aid. But what I'm saying is, those companies they still got a choice whether they bring those prices down or not. And we saw it in 2016 when he was in office, that these companies was getting these tax breaks. How much money an hour was people making? They still wasn't raising those hourly pays up, and we still was paying out of the tail on everything. I mean, the $2.15 in gas, that's lasted for like 2 years, and then it went up because of the C-19. So we acting like, man, when Trump was in office, boy, it was raining money, and we was doing great. Man, ask the middle class and the poor people how they
It
was
was
doing.
raining
But
money. I could
you
go on
gotta,
vacations. I haven't only
yeah.
had 2 vacations this administration. I used to go every 3 months.
The thing about it, I mean, I
Lucky you.
understand what you're saying, Brother Dre. I really do. But I think there's another perspective that I think some folks may not like and may not understand. And that is, we have to stop, although we want it to trickle down, right? Billionaires, millionaires, pay your fair share. We want it to trickle down to the everyday American people. I'm going to pose a challenge to the everyday American people. Instead of just waiting for it to trickle down, like all of us who are, I would imagine, all of us either entrepreneurs or actively involved in some kind of way of developing our skills so that we can make more money. I challenge the American people to start doing that. I mean, it's for me to, demand more and pay, but not want to increase your skill. I mean, come on, you can't get rich by demand. So I think not only do we want it to trickle down, but we got to get more people actively involved in increasing their skills. Like, for example, if we're going to say that, which I would hope we all agree, our school system isn't the greatest school system on the planet. And so because we know that, yeah, we need to make some changes to the school system. I believe teachers should be paid more, but I also believe if we're going to increase teachers' pay, guess what we should also do? We should demand a higher standard and specialty and expertise from our teachers so that they can be better teachers to our students. So, I mean, I think on both sides, trickle down. But everybody needs to step up because if we don't, these countries like China, like Russia, they are outpacing us in education, in science, in technology, in business. They're outpacing us. And we need American people to step up and do better at the local, state, and even the federal level if we want to compete. I'm telling you, I'm passionate about this because it's not a Trump Kool-Aid. I just need you to hear me, brother, when I say I've been to other countries, war-torn countries where bombs have been dropped, and those countries are devastated. And what we do not want as Americans is for them to dismantle our government, for them to be able to come into our country. That's why the open borders is so important, because they're sneaking in terrorists, they're sneaking in people who actually mean us harm. And I'm telling you from firsthand experience, having been in Baghdad, Iraq, people hate us. They want to kill us. And so there's just certain things that I think we need to shift our perspective and say, the American people, man, we got to cut out all of the rhetoric. We got to cut out all of the identity politics. And we got to all start really thinking about, how am I going to protect myself? How am I going to protect my family and the people that I love, and not waiting on the government to trickle something down to the middle class. And I can show you, brother, I'm from the hood, tattoos everywhere, seen it all, done it all. So I'm not trying to step on our people.
I really wasn't talking about trickle down. I wasn't talking about trickle down, not cut you off, but I really wasn't talking about trickle down. When you say educate and read, and saying that we can come from another, pull our own self up by the boots, in a sense. The corporation that is called educational, saying, look how much money it costs these people to go to school. And then we had a bill that could have hit the table that took some of that off of the people table, and it did not go through. If people are going to be re-educated, where's that money then? The money that these corporations claiming, there's very few people in the corporation that works for these companies that can go to school, that can re-educate themselves, they can better themselves, to find the time to do that. Why are these people, why the American people are not afforded the same ideals and money that these corporations are getting? Everything is cut on the good. Let's get the corporations to be good. But what about the American people? What do they deserve? They have a Social Security number, meaning they have taxes and money taken from them.
Nora?
I'm going to cut. Go ahead.
Yeah.
I'm going to cut it. Go ahead.
I know you good. Good. That was a nice discussion. So I'm going to play the next clip. It talks about the Trump assassination attempt and how the media covered it.
It's stand up. It's fun.
Jay, what's your thoughts on the clip and what they said about the assassination attempt?
Um, I definitely agree that the media would have put more energy behind it, because obviously we know that the vast majority of the major media, mainstream media networks are liberal media networks. And so it definitely would have run, and the angles would have been totally different compared to the angles that they used to justify or to explain what happened during the assassination attempts. And I agree. I believe it is the most dangerous job in the world. It kind of goes back to my point that I made earlier about, there are people who actually hate our country. And so that's why he has Secret Service. I was at the rally 2 nights ago here in Georgia, and I was amazed, being military, having some law enforcement experience and background. I loved the way they had security set up, because his job is the most deadliest job on the planet. It's the most dangerous job on the planet.
Kaizen, what's your thoughts?
Yeah, so it's clearly a very dangerous job. And I think the reason why people are attempting to assassinate Trump is because the media has been campaigning against him as a threat to democracy, a fascist, the next Hitler for years. So irrespective of whether you think that it's some deep state cabal or someone coordinating to assassinate him, we've created an environment where people not only want him to be dead, but kids who have been brainwashed since they were 12 years old about this guy being the next Hitler are actually trying. So not only is the media demonizing him, they also don't cover the stories that are actually positive and show Trump in a positive light.
True.
I would point out that one of the controversies going on right now is that Tony Hinchcliffe, the author of Kill Tony, he made a joke about Puerto Ricans. It was a bad joke. It wasn't very funny, but it's like, dude took an L doing his job, which is being a comedian. But somehow that seems to be a bigger issue for the mainstream media than us still not knowing who tried to assassinate Trump, or Biden still being in office despite being senile, and all these things that seem to get passed over. So yeah, it's a dangerous job. And I think the media and people allowing themselves to be emotionally manipulated by the media has contributed to making it an even more dangerous job, where people genuinely want Trump to die because they genuinely think he's going to end democracy, which is increasingly a ridiculous notion because we're still here and he was president.
Yeah, we did our show the other night, and we had a real life Puerto Rican man that came on, Sandy. He's a friend of the show, Trad Comedy. You guys can check him out on TikTok. He was like, it was funny. He thought the joke was funny. And you know what he said? He said that the issue with the garbage is so bad there. That's why the joke needed to be said. They forgot the message behind the joke and why the joke was said. Andre, you were here that night. I know you have a strong opinion. What's your thoughts on comment with the assassination?
I'm not.
We don't have to get into the joke because I know you think.
I'm not. No, I'm not gonna get into that. I just think, man, like no matter who you are, you're an American. You shouldn't be. I think violence should never be. But I will say it's like Malcolm X said: the chickens have come home to roost. All that stuff that he spewed out of his mouth. All the things that he said, going to Georgia and talking about the man's wife and him in his own hometown. All I'm saying is a lot of times the stuff that you say out your mouth, and nobody is untouchable. Let me put that. Nobody is untouchable. So chickens came home to roost, man. I hate that for him because no violence should be in American politics.
Well, hold on. Can I question that, Dre? What specifically has Trump said that is so incendiary that you think chickens, in this case, assassins coming home to roost, is just part of the cause and effect?
You will never have to vote again. That scares people. You would never have to vote again. That scares people. He's talking. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Respond to that one specifically.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So this is a perfect example. If you actually look at the full context of the clip, he was talking to a Christian audience. And he said, hey, if you vote now, you're never going to have to vote again because I'm going to fix it. What he's talking about is fix all the problems in the nation. And the reason he said that to Christian audience is because historically, devout Christian audiences don't vote as much as other audiences. So he's saying, hey, basically the point is, hey, I know you guys don't like to vote, but just vote this one time and you won't have to do it again because I'm going to get America back on track. So this is the kind of clip that gets taken out of context, and then people think, oh, he's saying he's going to end democracy and be a dictator. But it's like, No, if we watch a full clip rather than listening to what MSNBC or CNN or New York Times is saying, then we see that no, what he was saying is not nearly as incendiary. And I think Trump is divisive and he insults people a lot. He's kind of like a bull in a china shop. But that's a far cry from making homicidal statements that then invite homicide.
But some people do not believe. Some people have theories on that, and I'm not going to get into that. But what I'm saying is that it's just not the clip itself. You think how divisive we have had 10 years of Trump. So people, the way you see it, and the way somebody's sitting there at home is in some type of depressed, deranged mode, and they heard that. That could be a whole different way. The way you hear it and the way they hear it. Mental health is rapid in this country that we have not touched. You know what I'm saying? So that's the only thing, this reason why I was saying it like that. Just a lot of his speeches, I don't take it like that because I don't have mental health issues. But somebody who has mental health issues that takes that and hear that, they can take it to another level. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, and I totally agree with you. And to use your own point, it's like if someone's mentally ill and they're taking bits of information from the media and then making a conclusion that this guy's the next Hitler, that's not on Trump exclusively. And it's certainly not even on Trump, the majority. It's like, let's call people into being responsible and saying, hey, look, the way that you're looking at the world is distorted. And the media is contributing to that distortion and hold them to account rather than pointing at Trump and saying, well, you've been saying stuff that warrants an assassination attempt. Because frankly, like I'm someone who, as I said, I voted against him in 2016. I voted against him in 2020. I thought he was a bad guy. And then I went back to look at the clips that formed my beliefs. And I was like, literally a lot of this stuff is just not true, or it's an exaggeration, or it's a joke that was taken out of context. So even the fact that you named this specific thing, like the first thing that you named is like something I was able to provide context on shows, hey, maybe instead of pointing the finger at Trump, we need to point the finger at the media and at ourselves for allowing ourselves to just take unverified information into our minds. And I know it's difficult, right? Because like, who has time to go research every clip that New York Times told them? But unfortunately, that's the point we've gotten to. And I think it would be an easy bypass to say, oh, well, Trump is a dangerous person, so dangerous things are going to happen to him. But I actually think it's a lot more exaggerated than people still realize.
Well, Slim, did you have anything to add before we go to the next clip?
No. We could go to the next clip. That was well spoken. What's your name? Kaislin?
Kaizen. Thank you.
Kaislin. Well spoken on that.
D, we good?
Yeah, I think Kaizen summed it up pretty well. We have to stop just being spoon-fed all of our news in 10-second, 15-second clips off the internet and actually go watch them and do research ourselves.
Can I say something?
Sure.
In 2016, from 2020, my own personal life, I woke up every morning and put Trump News, Twitter, and Google because Trump constantly said crazy stuff, constantly. Republicans themselves, I'm not talking about the constituents, I'm talking about actual politicians, are afraid to speak out against Trump because they're afraid of the ramifications of what would happen if they attack Trump. So if Trump is a politician, so we're looking at this like, oh, why is this political violence? Well, if Trump was a street guy and this was happening to him, everybody would be saying, oh, this person got what they deserve. They have all this aggression. They do all this stuff. Of course, something like that happened to them because they saying all this stuff on social media.
And January 6th did happen. And January 6th did happen. And people had families at that place. January 6th did happen. So people did get some fear from that.
Yeah. So can I respond to that? Do we have time for that, Nora?
Go ahead.
Yeah. So Gray, I completely agree with you that Trump says stuff that's out of pocket regularly. He still does it on a daily basis. And there's a difference between saying things that are rude or insulting and saying things that are homicidal and invite homicide. And the original point that Jay was making is like, okay, eventually chickens come home to roost, but the chicken that came home to roost was not someone tweeting something rude about Trump like he does to other people regularly. It was someone literally trying to kill him. So there's degrees, right, of severity here. And if there's something that Trump said that people think is like inciting violence intentionally, I would love to see it. I still haven't seen it. Even when it comes to January 6th, people keep on saying, well, look how much violence there was on January 6th. But that day started with a rally called the Save America rally, where Trump explicitly said, go protest peacefully. Then he tweeted, go protest peacefully. Then he made a video, go protest peacefully. And the protest did start peacefully. So I get it. Like, he's definitely someone who invites a lot of aggression, but I think the media takes it over the top because we allow them to. And then we end up in a situation where we go from, oh, this guy's an asshole, to, oh, he's an ex-Hitler and someone needs to kill him.
Well, I think this goes into the mental health issues we have in this country. I'm going to play this clip when Trump talks about MAHA, Make America Healthy Again, which is a big thing I think that we should consider on our vote. Make America Healthy Again. Jay, what's your thoughts on the Make America Healthy Again campaign? Did that affect your vote? And do you think it's going to be good for Trump?
It definitely affected my vote. I mean, I was already, on the bandwagon, I guess you could say, of what we can do to help make our food healthier, just with my own personal lifestyle and even talking to other people. So I'm all in on making America healthy again. I believe that, having RFK a part of the administration, and even if he does even, put someone like Elon a part of his administration, I mean, I just think right now they're doing a lot of disruptive thinking. And so because there's a lot of disruptive thinking happening, through Trump, through Elon, through RFK, I don't think they'll get all of the, obviously they won't get everything pushed through because, the House and Senate, everybody's got to vote on things. But I do think that they are going to do everything that they can to, to shock several elements of the system because it needs to be rebuilt, retooled, maintenance, something. We got to clean some things up.
85, what's your thoughts on the Make America Healthy Again? I know you're working on some things for men's health, so I just want to get your thoughts on that.
Oh man, I think it's a beautiful thing actually. Anytime you're dealing with health, especially in our country, it's a blessing, man. And that's one of the policies that I really, really thought was big for Trump. I do think it's going to help him in the election. And again, we could look around and see obesity is a problem. We can see what's going on with our food. I mean, sometimes I got a friend of mine, she's actually in Savannah, and she elected to start growing her crops and, doing it like back in the days, man. And she was serious about it. And, I salute her for that. And I think that's what we might come to if we don't focus on things like that. So yeah, big up to health, man.
Gray, what do you think should be done for Black men in particular? Because we have a panel of Black men tonight. And what do you think Kamala is going to do something for Black men if she's voted in? And what's your thoughts? Because the reality is Kamala might be our president.
I think she put out that 4-point plan about the health stuff, and I think everybody, whether Democrat or Republican, agree with health. And as Black men on here, I think we need to think about diabetes. I actually have high blood pressure myself. I take medication every morning. So hopefully whoever wins, they focus on that because salt is a mass killer of the Black community.
Kaizen, I know you do a lot of motivational stuff. So what do you think about this health agenda, and what do you think the next president should do to help with making America healthy again?
I absolutely love it. So before I was supporting Trump, I supported RFK. And this is one of the big reasons, because obviously everyone should agree we should make America as healthy as possible. But I think RFK revealed just how much corruption and bad incentives there are in the healthcare system, in the pharmaceutical system, in industrial agriculture. We have all this glyphosate and all this toxic chemicals being sprayed on food that people don't even know is on their food. We have 45% of the FDA's budget comes from big pharma. We have all these incentives and subsidies for toxic food rather than it going to healthy organic food. So I was personally extremely excited to hear that RFK and Trump teamed up, because I believe in RFK specifically ability to change the incentives and systems so that we get healthier food and water. And I would point out that I think this is actually one of the underemphasized parts of Trump's campaign, the people he's assembled around him. Like Jay mentioned Elon. It's like, if we want anyone to make government more efficient, literally you could not pick a better person on the planet than Elon. Like the guy bought Twitter, cut 80% of the workforce, and Twitter grew. So I'm very excited about RFK. I'm very excited about Elon. I can't actually name a single person on Kamala's team that really feels like a revolutionary who's actually going to make major changes. And I think almost that clip undersells how important health is, because we are in a crisis right now, a health crisis, and health and human services is actually the most expensive part of government, more than defense spending or anything. Literally, we're paying the most for health and we're getting the worst results. It's insane. It's bankrupting our country. It's making kids fatter, sicker, more confused. So this feels like one of the most, for me, this is personally the second most important issue behind preventing World War III. And it's why I'm excited to have Trump and RFK in office.
Yeah, and shouts out to the Make America Healthy Again campaign. Everyone watching Monday, we will be doing a live stream. We have some leaders coming on from the Make America Healthy campaign that supported RFK, but now they've all said they're gladly now supporting for Trump. So you guys should come and watch that. Maybe some won't be, but it's good to hear that perspective. And Andre, I saw you shaking your head. What's your thoughts about the Make America Healthy Again campaign?
You're muted, Andre. You're muted. You're muted.
Okay, I'm gonna stay positive with the rest of the group. I could say a few things to be in the middle of that, because I don't remember. I remember my grandfather and all of them. They had high blood pressure, diabetes, and all that stuff. I don't remember when America was healthy until we started doing more natural resources. And he was talking about growing your own vegetables. We started that about 3 or 4 years ago as a group, but we started growing our own vegetables, and we started eating good food and taking natural vitamins and stuff, the stuff that came from the earth. I had high blood pressure and diabetes and all that 10 years ago. Now I don't have any. I take no medicine because, I don't believe in the big pharma. I'm going to be honest with you. I'm not a big believer of that either. So I understand JFK, he has a lot of things that I agree with, you know what I'm saying? So I'm not going to say anything about it. But
All right, Dee, what's your thoughts on Make America Healthy Again?
I also supported RFK. I really didn't think he could win, being a third party candidate. So I'm glad he decided to team up with Trump. They make a great team together. I do believe that the system is very perverse, as Kaiser stated, how big ag and big pharma get all their funding from the people who they're supposed to be regulating, which makes no sense to me at all. It's like the prisoners paying the guards, to give them a better life. It's insane. So I hope that that they're successful with with all the things they're trying to get through, and that everybody's already summed it up. So it's not really much left to say about it.
Well, I'm going to switch gears here for the last few minutes that we have. I'm going to play a couple of clips by Kamala. She was on that Club Shay Shay podcast. So I'll give her a chance tonight and we'll share what they talked about. So for those of you that don't want to lose 2 hours of your life, you can watch a couple of clips with us. Let's watch this clip when Kamala talks about her economic promises.
But the inflation, gas prices are extremely high. Groceries are extremely high. This rent, it used to be when I was renting, they moved the rent up $40 a year. Now they're moving it up $400.
So let's talk about that. I'm glad you raised that. So for example, groceries, yes, the prices are still too high. You know it, I know it.
Yeah.
Part of my plan is to deal with price gouging. I did it when I was Attorney General. I'm going to do it as president, which is these companies that will jack up the prices of groceries to take advantage of people in need, and in particular during a crisis, like what you see around the pandemic or Hurricane Helene.
Yes. Milton.
Right?
Yes.
Milton, right? So there's that. In terms of housing, first of all, we know that Black families are 40% less likely to own their home. And we can go back to redlining. We can go back to policies that were by law or practice meant to not give black folks equal opportunity to home ownership, especially in certain neighborhoods. We can go back to what happened around the GI Bill.
Yeah.
And when all the great generation, we call them, came back, and there was federal policy to say, you all fought for our country. We're going to give you a boost around helping you buy homes. But those black servicemen, and it was mostly men, those black servicemen did not. So you had then a time when there was a boost for, it ended up being not for black service members. So part of my policy is to, one, create a fund so that we will give a $25,000 down payment to first-time homeowners to just help people get in the door. We will deal with the rent issue, because part of what we're seeing in Atlanta, in places across our country, is these corporations are buying up all these properties, which means then that they don't have to deal with competition between the properties, and they're jacking up rent costs. So it's about also going after that corporate gouging around what they're doing to buy up and then jack up the prices of rent. We also need to help people with small business ownership. I did, even before I was running for president, a tour, I called it the Opportunity Economy Tour, focused on black men and black entrepreneurs. What we know is, unlike Donald Trump, who got $400 million handed to him practically on a silver platter, and by the way, Shannon filed for bankruptcy 6 times. Everybody wants to say he's a great businessman. Take a look at his record. I know that so many of our entrepreneurs who have great ideas don't have access to capital, but they have serious work ethic, great ideas, and a plan to do the work. So part of my plan is to increase access to capital, including giving $20,000 forgivable loans for startup capital for people to buy the equipment.
Right.
And then to change the tax deduction, so whereas it is now $5,000, to make it $50,000 to start a new business, because nobody can start a new business on $5,000.
So what's funny to me is her plan said black men and others, black people and others. But she released her Puerto Rican plan this week, and she directly gave a plan and an answer. 85, I'll let you go first. Do you think she'll be able to fix our economic problems as a whole as a country, and in particular for black people, since she had the black plan?
This is my whole quarrel with this whole situation, man. If it's not talking about race, it's Donald Trump. There's never nothing for the people, man. Like, I don't like the targeted politics, like the groups and all of that. Situation with the Puerto Rico. The guy said Puerto Rico. He didn't say Puerto Ricans. They always make it a race thing. And I don't think she can fix anything, because she, honestly, to me, she doesn't care. This is an agenda. Nobody voted for this woman to actually be in the race. I don't see how she's even the candidate. I can't take anything she even says. So it's hard for me to really elaborate, because she says the same shit every time I see it. Excuse my French. Just saying.
Jay, what's your thoughts?
I'm at this point, I'm exhausted with listening. It's the same rhetoric at this point for me. Nothing that I respect. The only portion that I truly do respect of her plan is the health component, which Gray brought up earlier. Yes, I believe that is a major problem. But when you look at the other things, I mean, honestly, legalizing marijuana, I understand it, but that doesn't, directly affect me personally. If you look at the $20,000 forgivable loans or grants, we all know that the Congress that'll never make it through to get approval. So there's so many things that we're going around in circles, and it's really sad that, they knew that Joe Biden was in the state that he was in for as long as he was there, and they didn't come up with a solid transition plan. I think, because that didn't happen just overnight. There were several conversations with other leaders in the DNC, and we know that they all had to unanimously make this decision. There's talk that Pelosi had to actually go to Biden and actually, convince him to step down. So the fact that they didn't have a solid transition plan for her to, transition in and some policies already in place, I'm just like, man, it's just been a circus, at least for me, the entire time.
D, what's your thoughts?
I think this is the student loan forgiveness all over again, right? They get there, they promise you a bunch of stuff that they know they can't pass, that they know they don't have the numbers to get through. There's no plan on where the money's going to come from any of this. America's already struggling, so let's just write a big check for God knows how much more money to God knows who. I have a real estate background. If she promised $25,000 for all new homeowners, what I would do is I would bump my numbers up a little bit so that I can get me some of that $25,000. And that's what everyone else is going to do. I'm not the only genius in the world who thought of that, right? And I mean, and it's basic economics. If everyone knows that you got 25 price.
D, your audio went out. Your audio, D.
And
D,
just
we
get in
can't
front of.
hear you.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yeah, sorry.
I don't know. I don't know what happened. But it's just the same playbook, and it's very disgusting how in her plan to me, I took offense to this. In her plan for black people, for black men, I'm gonna legalize weed and let you guys smoke weed because you love weed so much. That is very belittling to me. And I mean, I don't see how anybody else could take it any way but that. So she didn't say for the United States of America. She said, in my plan for black guys, you guys love to get high, right? So, here you go. Here goes some weed. That's crazy.
Andre, what's your response and what do you think of her plan? How will it help people? Will it trickle down?
So what I you funny. What I would say is about the weed thing. What if you're a farmer and you have a lot of land? So, and marijuana is illegal federal wise, and it's all through. And you're not doing good on one crop, and you can grow that. That will put a lot of capital in your pocket. I don't agree with everything Kamala Harris said, but then he said about the 25,000. I don't know if you can. She said it's first-time owners, first-time buyers. What I'm saying? You have to be a first-time buyer to get into that program. I understand that. I heard her say some things that was pretty good. Would it happen? I don't believe it. I believe she's had the same talking point that Trump did when he talked about he's gonna get rid of the income tax. It's the same thing. It's a fairy gonna come down and hit us across the head and tell us that all these things are gonna get passed, and we know it's not.
You know why you can't see that it's going to happen? Because Democrats don't get things done. Republicans do. I mean, that's the reality. So that's why it's probably not foreseeable.
I voted for Trump twice. I voted for Trump twice. I'm just being honest with you. I voted for Trump twice. I did.
Okay.
Let me address one thing, brother. First off, she did not say she's going to legalize it for you guys to grow it. You're not going to make any money off of it. No, you don't get to do that. What you get to do is smoke it. You get to smoke it. You don't get to grow it.
That's not true. That's not true, bro. I'm just telling you, that's not true.
It is. It is true.
I know people right now getting their phones ready now. They're getting their phones ready now to grow it.
So I agree that if it's legal, you will have the opportunity to grow it. But the most important thing, Dre, is what you literally just said. We have to make sure if we want to capitalize on the opportunity of legalizing marijuana, then yes, we need to have more brothers in the game and positioning themselves to have the capital. The thing about it is who she targeted in the legalization of marijuana. It's not the investors who have the farm and the capital to even get into the marijuana game. That specific piece that she's referring to is for brothers who are worried about like living like in California, where you can sit on a bus stop, or you can sit on your front porch, or you can drive and smoke it while you're in your car. She's targeting that particular segment, not the investors with that.
Kaizen, you're in a state, you're in California, correct?
Yeah.
And marijuana is legal there. Do you have a thought or an opinion on that? Like, what's your thoughts on her promising that? And is that something, like, do you think that across the United States that we can have?
I honestly can't think of a thing I care about less. It just feels like such small potatoes. Like, Look, this just feels like pandering and identity politics, and it feels so shallow, and not even the surface looks good here. Rather than talking about here's what Black men need, here's $25,000 to buy a house, let's talk about what the biggest Black issues are, which is preventing World War III, getting our economy back up and running, and securing our border. Like, the biggest Black issues, in my opinion, are the issues that are affecting everyone. So while she's like trying to promise I'm going to legalize weed, or there's this ridiculous thing about protect Black men from cryptocurrency investments or something very strange, I was like, yo, this is like a very shallow ploy to get votes. And it feels condescending, honestly. And when I hear her talk about some of the economic stuff, look, I'm not an expert on economics, so I'm not in a strong position to evaluate it. But some of it just doesn't actually make that much sense from a common sense perspective. Like, you're telling me that the issues with groceries being twice as expensive as they were a few years ago is price gouging? Really? It's price gouging? Like, how about the fact that we're printing trillions of extra dollars and just like, and spending our money irresponsibly? And now at this point, most of the tax money is going to service the debt that the United States has. So the proportion is completely lost here. I don't trust her ability to deliver results. And I don't need to be an expert on economic policy to just look at the 4 years while she was in charge with Joe Biden were bad. So anyone can name policies. It's easy to name policies. What's much harder to fake is results. So I just look back at the results and it's like, Trump had good results. People say he inherited Obama's economy. I actually don't think that's fair. There are actually economic conditions that changed that Trump managed to maintain a good economy through. One of them is actually inflationary money printing. That actually changed sharply under Trump. So, like, with any politician, they can say whatever they want and then get in office, and that's when the rubber actually hits the road. And even when Trump talks about tariffs, I'm like, bro, I don't know if tariffs will work, and I actually don't really care about this particular tool. But now I have 4 years of data on you delivering results that I care about, and that's what I trust, not what someone says in an interview or what they type in a document that was probably peer, like, you know, they did a group poll to see what would poll well with people. So yeah, I just don't trust her. I don't trust her results. She doesn't sound like someone who knows what she's talking about on anything but abortion. And I don't trust her ability to get this country away from World War III, get our economy back up and running, or secure our border.
Gray, the Democrat on the call, come on and defend Kamala. What is the economic plan going to do for us?
Well, what I heard you saying is that that she said Black people and others, and what I seem to be hearing from all the other guys is, you know, they found it offensive with the marijuana remarks, and they're kind of tired of pandering to someone just because they're Black or because they're a Black man. And like, I mean, look at this show right now, which, Nora, I appreciate you for coming and hosting the show. But we got Black men on here because we know that it's going to look a certain way, look good. Like, we're working with the Black community. I appreciate all you guys for coming. Everybody's totally different. Everybody's different ages, you know, different businesses, education, all types of stuff like that. So I know people are offended by that. But, you know, that's what she was doing. And I do believe she has some type of plan to help people. But like I've said to everybody, I like the fact that it can be Black people in the Republican Party now because we need representation on both sides. So the pandering is going to be good for us if we have representation on both sides, because then they'll both have to work and one person doesn't get the vote. So yeah, I understand where everybody's coming from. They're tired of the pandering. I mean, I was in the marijuana industry. I do smoke, so I get it. And I know it's a lot of brothers that's locked up doing life in prison or a lot of time over drug charges. Trump did do the First Step Act and got some people out of prison. I will give him that. But I think it's more so if someone's in prison for weed and someone's in prison for weed in Alabama and someone's in California making millions of dollars from weed, I just don't think that that's fair.
That is fair. I know what you're saying. So this is where she talks particularly to Black men, and let's see what she had to say. This will be our closing clip.
We also call Obamacare, which benefited so many people, including and in particular Black people in America who otherwise were denied by the insurance companies health coverage because of pre-existing conditions.
Yes, that's most important. Let the people know.
Right?
With an Affordable Care Act, If you have a pre-existing condition, insurance companies can no longer deny you coverage.
That's exactly right. And if you think about what that means in the context of also knowing the big health disparities we have in the black community, and how more likely, therefore, black folks might be to have pre-existing conditions.
High blood pressure, diabetes,
all of
certain
that.
cancers.
All of that.
Yes.
Asthma for our children.
Yes. Sickle cell trait.
It's all of that. So by getting rid of the pre-existing condition ban, what that did, but he wanted to get rid of the Affordable Care Act.
Right.
What we have done, and part of my policies going forward include what we need to do to not only retain the cap that we got on insulin at $35 a month for seniors. By the way, black folks are 60% more likely to be diagnosed with diabetes.
Correct.
He wants to get rid of it with that Project 2025. Everybody needs to check that out. What he would do to get rid of Social Security, or at least raise the age to 70, so you'd have to work to 70 to be able to qualify.
Right.
Get rid of Medicare, get rid of the Affordable Care Act. And that's just on health policy, not to mention bringing back not only tax cuts for the richest people, but what he would do that is about eliminating or reducing the ability of corporations to be required to pay overtime pay.
So you could work and the corporations wouldn't have to pay you for
overtime.
Who work for free?
That's right. And overtime means you are actually working a longer day, which means you are more tired.
Right.
Which means it requires more exertion. That's why we have overtime pay. So you don't take advantage of workers. In addition to all of that, we're looking at Donald Trump, basically somebody who has never been understanding of the issues that affect the community about disparities. And I'm going to talk, for example, about how when he was a landlord, he denied rent to black families.
Mm-hmm.
You look at what he did in terms of taking out a full-page ad in the New York Times against the Central Park Five, which were a bunch of, they're not young adults, they were teenagers, black and brown teenagers, took out a full-page ad in the New York Times calling for their execution for crimes they did not commit. They were innocent. Donald Trump, who said of the first black president of the United States, the birtherism, to have people question whether he was born in the United States, to try and diminish. And then most recently, you look in this very election, legal black immigrants in Springfield, Ohio, saying they're eating their pets. So part of what we have to help people understand is don't think you're in Donald Trump's club. You're not.
Right.
He's not going to be thinking about you. You think he's having you over for dinner? You think that when he's with his buddies, his billionaire buddies, he's thinking about what we need to do to deal with addressing, for example, my work around what I'm doing to address disparities in black men's health, around colon cancer, around what we need to do around screenings, what we need to do around prostate cancer. Black men are twice as likely to have, and screenings, what we need to do to address.
I'm a survivor of prostate cancer.
Right.
So that was her word salad. Kaizen, I'll let you go first and respond.
Sure. So first, let's talk about the things that Trump has actually done for the black community that don't get enough attention because the media is biased against him. In 2018, he signed a bipartisan criminal justice reform bill that softened sentences for nonviolent drug offenders. It funded education for prisoners who reintegrated back into the population so they can get back on their feet. And that was like a big deal. It was something that was unexpected, had Republican and Democrat support, but Trump doesn't get enough credit for that. Trump also authorized an additional $250 million going to HBCUs, historically black colleges and universities, per year. But again, he doesn't get credit for that. So this idea that like, oh, Kamala's for black people and Trump is against black people it's dishonest. It's just not true. And pointing out a bunch of things that happened, decades ago in hiring practices that are really hard to verify does not convince me that Trump is this racist, which is basically this narrative that I see Democratic leadership keep trying to trot out. So personally, I'm not buying it. Again, I want to look at results. I didn't hear Kamala say anything that she's done for black people over the last 4 years when she was in office. I know what Trump did for black people while he was in office. And I think the biggest issues that are facing everyone completely transcend race. So again, personally, I just feel like it's identity politicking and it's trying to make a caricature. And it's constantly like, they not like us, trust me because I look like you. And I'm like, I'm just over it. I'm really, really over it personally. So again, I don't trust her competency. I don't really believe in much that she's saying. I don't think that she's a master of her craft. And I don't think she's the best and the brightest, even in the Democratic Party. And I know what Trump has done. There's risk with Trump, but there's a certainty that with Kamala, we're going to continue to see the same results that we got while she was in office. So I'll rather take my risks.
I agree with you, Kaizen. A vote for Kamala Harris is a vote for the last 4 years. Andre, I'll let you respond on what you think about what she said she can do for Black men and the Black community.
Oh boy. I want to shout out Slim with that Pittsburgh, man. Go Pittsburgh. Steelers, man. You know what I'm saying? Go Pittsburgh. Steelers.
Yeah. You see, they doing their thing, man. They doing their
Come
thing.
on now. Come on now. You know, I mean, I'm trying to think of what she said, what she lied about. You know, I didn't hear anything she lied about. You know, she made points that are true because we seen it, we read about it, we know that she made points that was true. But but to speak against Harris on this one, I'm sick of her talking about Donald Trump. I want to hear about her, VP Harris. I am still having, I don't know if when I go to the polls I'm voting for Trump or Harris just yet. But I'm sick of hearing about. I even know that I have a big thing for. I don't feel good about Trump. I'm not gonna even tell no lie here. I don't feel great about him. But what kills me with Harris is she just pandering a little bit to me. What you said about the pandering on that video, because all she talked about is the talking points of Trump. But she did not stand up and say, I will be a leader in a war if a war break out. I'm going to do this to the economy when the economy comes. I didn't hear her stand up and own anything. That's the problem I have with Harris.
Absolutely. I agree with you. And I think that's the biggest issue everyone has. Jay, what's your closing thoughts on what she said in that clip?
Yeah, it's been tossed around, man. I mean, we don't have to beat a dead horse. I just think at the end of the day, her team is she's a reflection of her team and the people that she has around her, and that lack of preparation, that lack of I guess just the ability to demonstrate leadership, whether it's in your tone, whether it's in your language, just whether it's in how she approaches certain situations. I think Kaizen said it best. It's difficult, to trust whether male or female. For me right now, when I look at what's happening in our world, I just think we need someone, whether you like him or not, whether you think he's aggressive or not, abrasive or not. I think he's savage enough to deal with the things and make the threats, and of course we don't want him to go to any extremes where we face nuclear war or anything to that extreme. But I do think he's wired for what we need right now when we're facing different wars and everything that's going on, even internally in our country or abroad.
Gray, what's your thoughts?
Well, first I want to respond to Catalina. Catalina, I'm a man, and I think women should be able to lead to some degree. But I do agree with y'all that Kamala lacks media training, and she doesn't come off as a good leader the way Trump comes off, and that Trump is way more charismatic. And I understand the allure and the appeal of Donald Trump. I think Kamala Harris is more of an intellectual, and her background is kind of like in law, and she's worked in the government, and Trump has been on TV, reality TV. He's a much more likable person. Even me as a Democrat, I would rather meet Trump than Kamala Harris. So I get it. But I just think that what Kaizen said that, I would rather take the risk with Trump than have the last 4 years. I got playing cards and dice tattooed on me. I'll take risk in my own life, but I don't want to take a risk on government. So I'll just stick with the Democratic Party, and I hope that she wins this in 2024.
Slim, what's your closing thoughts on look at what Kitalia wrote. Sorry.
I think Kay want to respond to that, man. You want to respond to that real quick?
Yeah. Can I respond? So look, the certainty in my mind is that if Kamala continues to be president, our economy is going to continue to get worse. We're going to get closer to World War III or in it, and the immigration crisis is not going to be resolved. So it's not just a risk. It's like there are risks for Donald Trump, but the certainty is even worse than the risks in my mind. The certainty of what will happen if we continue on this trajectory. So just wanted to say that.
Yeah, and same thing here, man. It's the same old rhetoric. I think she's sticking to the script. There's nobody that they have that can defeat this man that's better for the country. That's the reality of everything. The closest they had was JFK, and you see what happened to that. But the independent primary, there's a brother that's running. I don't know his name, but he's a black dude. Bingo. I got a real strong question why nobody talks about him. If it's about BLM or whatever it is. Because I think he's better than Kamala, just to keep it G with you.
He doesn't matter.
Yeah. He's better than Kamala. So that's my problem with this woman, man. I don't think we're gonna be safe. I don't think I think our country will be in shambles, man. And there's a lot of Muslim countries that don't respect a woman in power, man. So you decide to get on that plane and go over there, they might kidnap you and just test her out, just to see what's good. And I think she's gonna leave you over there.
That's crazy.
I will say, I will say this. I have family in the Middle East right now,
that is
and
crazy.
they are deadly afraid if Kamala Harris becomes the president. So please, that is a real fact. They do not respect her, and it's not because she's a woman. They just don't respect her. She's not a Hillary Clinton kind of woman. Hillary
There are people in the world that don't
respect
Donald Trump. There's people in countries that don't respect him.
People all over the world either love or respect him. I will tell you, the Middle East is praying. The Jewish people and the Middle East is praying he becomes in office.
They not gonna try Donald, man.
The most toughest president that ever been in office was Obama, bro. That's the one that didn't try. Because that man would send a drone to your doorstep and let everybody go to sleep. So they did not try that, man. So I don't know where we coming at with that. So,
Nora, you don't have no more clips, right?
No, we're gonna close out.
Okay. I definitely want to thank all you guys for coming. Kaiser, you went to Harvard?
Yeah.
We got a Harvard graduate on here.
Oh man, that's what's up, bro.
He was on Fox News.
That's what's up. What's
I
up?
don't want to play identity politics, but seeing black guys do that's a big thing, for sure. But go ahead, Nora.
Yeah, no, I mean, we probably collectively have like 10 degrees on here. I have a master's, so thank you everyone for coming out and speaking. I really appreciate it. I think this was an important panel to have. This is the collective panel of different Black men, across the country, from Atlanta to California. So thank you so much for coming on. I just want to say a quick announcement. Next week, we have some good shows coming on for everyone watching. Again, we have the Make America Healthy Again show Monday night. We have leaders from that movement coming on. Tuesday night, we have our watch party from 7 p.m. to 11 p.m. So I'm so excited. We have many guests locked in that will be coming back, many influencers. So I'm so excited about that. And I'm excited that President Trump will be elected that night. And then Wednesday, we have our recap of the election, if we know who the president is and where the direction our country will be going in. So again, thank you guys for coming on. If you guys want to each go down and let everyone know where they can follow you and find you. Jay, I'll let you go first since you were the first to come in.
Yeah, no problem. I appreciate it. Thanks for the opportunity to be on the show, and super grateful to have the opportunity to share the stage with everybody that was on. But Jay Jackson, you can find me on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and LinkedIn as Jay Jackson.
Kaizen, where can they find you at?
So first, Nora, Gray, thanks for having me back on. This was fun. Gray, Jay, thank you for your service. And y'all can find me on Instagram or TikTok or X. I'm most active on Instagram at That's Kaizen. So THATS Kaizen.
Thank you again for coming. Andre, the man of the people, let everybody know where they can find you and let everybody know when your next live will be.
You can find me on TikTok at Andre Lowry. Next live would be, I do pop-ups, but the next show would be in 2 weeks. And that's November the 15th. I mean, not 2 weeks, but November 15th, whenever that is, that's when the next show would be. And I want to just say, I won't be on Twitter or what they call X because I just don't trust Elon Musk. That man scared me.
Who, Elon Musk?
Yes.
He saved
I
free
love
speech.
Elon. So we can have a debate on that another time.
Kaja, somebody asked for your Twitter name, Catalina.
Your X profile name. Yeah,
It's
yeah.
That's Kaizen. It's That's Kaizen everywhere.
Oh yeah, okay.
That's
Laura,
Kaizen,
put it in the
Catalia.
chat.
Okay. Well, again, thank you guys so much for coming. We look forward to seeing you. And like we always say, on the new party, always vote.
Always vote.
Vote.